Force Unleashed was released way back in 2008, and that was 14 years ago. It was released on iOS G2ME. I have no idea what that is or what it means. Is it a sex thing? Oh. N-Gage, DS, PSP, PS2, PS3, Wii, 360, PC, and more recently, the Nintendo Switch. Thankfully, there's a small underground independent website called Wikipedia, and it means I don't have to play every single version of this game. I can just read what other people have written about them. First time I played this game was way back when I was in comp, or secondary school, or high school. My friend Danny let me borrow his copy on the 360. I really don't remember that much from it. Ironically enough, I remember the second game more, even though I remember it being a lot worse. I never actually owned a copy of this game, whereas I own 2 copies of the second game, one on PS3 and one on PC. Developed by LucasArts, rest in peace, this game was seemingly the start of a major franchise, the new face of Star Wars. You play as Starkiller, not that one. Voiced by Star Wars legend Sam Witwer, who also voiced Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, Rebels, and even Solo. The movie. There's no, I don't know why I meant, why did I specify movie? Not only does he voice the character, he also, like, lent his likeness to the character, and I always find it weird when video games do this. Like, in Infamous Second Son, for example, I can never really connect with Delson, was that his name? Because you just play as Troy, that looks like Troy Baker, I'm just playing as Troy Baker with superpowers. And I don't know why I find it weird, I just do. Like, it's not like I watch a movie and I'm like, oh, that's weird, Robert De Niro's a granddad now, who's in a ball pit. That was weird, but you get the point I'm trying to make. But Starkiller isn't the only character you play as in Force Awakens, and... Oh, I wrote Awakens. Unleashed. You play as the big granddaddy of Star Wars, the face of the franchise, the character that strikes fear in every fan's heart. And even me, to this day, I can't go to a convention and see this character because there is just something about him that strikes fear into me, like, I don't know, like, another thing you're scared of when you're a kid and it just sticks with you. It's that. And of course I'm talking about C-3PO. I meant Darth Vader. Now, I know that I recently played Jedi Academy, and I did have a somewhat good time with it, but you want to know what would instantly top that experience? You let me play as Darth Vader from the get-go. Soon as the game starts, I'm Vader. Job done. You've won. And Darth Vader is so OP in this opening level, and it just feels great. Jumping ahead a bit later in the game when you are Starkiller and you've leveled up a bit, you can get pretty powerful, but you are never as powerful as you are as Vader at the opening segment of this game. He's just a beast. Just murking Wookiees like they were sand people. It's a cool and fun opening to a game in general, let alone a Star Wars game. It's just a big power trip. By the end of the segment, you meet baby Starkiller and essentially kidnap him by murdering his father and just taking him. Then flash forward a few years and boom, you're big boy Starkiller. This is where we get introduced to the main story, and to my surprise, it's actually pretty good. It's really interesting. There are layers here to this story, and you can you see a side of Darth Vader that you don't really see in the movies. Maybe, I mean, he's not in Rebels that much either. He's in like season 2 for the most part. So no, we never really see this side of Darth Vader that much. Starkiller is Vader's personal assassin, hunting down the last remaining Jedi and eventually getting powerful enough to take on the Emperor. So you and Vader run the galaxy, kind of like what Vader wanted to do with Luke in the original trilogy. But there's a twist. The Emperor has no idea about you, doesn't know you exist, or so you think. Which gives you more than enough of an excuse to just kill every single person, creature, droid you see. Don't care if you're just a civilian. If you see me, it's murking time. Gameplay wise, it kind of just feels like a standard hack and slash, which was all the rage back in 2008. If it was made today, I imagine it would be like a Souls game or something. Yeah, probably something like that. Honestly speaking, I had way more fun with the lightsaber combat in this game than I did with Jedi Academy. It felt more responsive, it felt more precise, and not as sort of like wavy, if that makes sense. There was one thing I noticed with the lightsaber though. In my last video I mentioned that the attention to detail of the lightsabers in Jedi Academy was just unprecedented and something that Star Wars games still struggle with today. Like when you hit walls or something, it leaves a trail. And this game is the perfect example of what I mean. You know, your lightsaber does leave trails, kind of, but it only leaves trails when you're attacking, not really when you just skim past a wall or something. It doesn't leave a trail then. It's only when you press the attack button, and even then it's not like 100%. You know, that there may be something small and something that doesn't make a difference to anybody else, but it matters to me. Not really. But what does make a difference to me in a serious way is dismemberment, because I love chopping things off. Jedi Academy had arms falling off all the time. It was great. Sadly, dismemberment in this game is nowhere to be seen. And I don't really get that, because this game, I wouldn't say it's a kid's game, because it doesn't feel like a kid's game. So it's kind of weird that it doesn't have this dismemberment thing. It's probably a rule that LucasArts put in or something, I don't know, but I missed it. It's just the little things. I like seeing a lightsaber chop arms off. It's one of my favorite things they do. And when I don't see them do it, I instantly knock a point off my review score. The lightsaber duels or boss fights are also much better than Jedi Academy. I actually felt like there was some sort of strategy to them. I knew when I was losing, I knew when I was winning. Basically, I had a much better grasp on what was going on than I did in Jedi Academy. And as small as this is, I do kind of like health bars. It lets me know if I'm doing a good job, and at 24 years old, I really do need that constant reassurance that I'm doing good. The combat isn't perfect though. I think it's pretty shallow. Like, there are a lot of combos you can unlock the more you progress in the game, but how am I supposed to remember all of this, like, combination buttons? Like, I don't remember my phone number and I've had it for 4 years. You just get one attack button. There's no light or heavy attacks. X is for lightsaber, Y is for lightning. So that's one thing I wish it had, like a light and heavy attack. Another thing I wish the game did better with its combat are the defense mechanics. And you can block in the game, but it leaves you unable to move. So you'll be stuck frozen like me when I see a copy of Naughty Bear in CEX. And this works fine for boss fights where you're fighting one enemy, but when there are multiple enemies, the worst thing you can do is just stand still. You're like a shark. You stay still and you suffocate. You can kind of deflect lasers from guns and stuff in a sense, but not very well, and it's something you actually have to upgrade, which is a bit weird. Another thing I wish the game had was a dodge button. Now, before you write in the comments that this game does have a dodge button, it doesn't. It has a dash button. I call it a dash button, the game calls it a dash button, so that's what it is. Now, you can use this button to dodge, but you do end up flying about half a mile away from the enemy. So I wish there was a more subtle dodge mechanic in the game, or like a parry, just something. And this is where you tell me that there is a parry mechanic in the game, and I was just too bad to realize it, which, yeah, at this point I believe you. The version I played had a lot of costumes, which was interesting. I didn't use them all, and I didn't use the ones that I did use for a long time, because I mentally can't unless I've already played the game once through, because it messes with my head. Someone please tell me I'm not the only one who can't use an alternate costume on the first run through. Although I do admit playing a C-3PO just decking these clowns like they were scrawny chavs at the park was pretty enjoyable, and more importantly, looked really funny. Now, as cool as the costumes are, sadly they don't continue into the pre-rendered cutscenes, which makes sense. You know, a lot of games did that in 2008, but I don't know, it just would have been extra funny seeing 3PO in a cutscene, but at least we get to see a good soldier following orders. Another reason I didn't feel the need to use all of the costumes all the time, and am I still talking about costume? Jesus Christ, I wrote this last night. I must have just been, I don't know. Starkiller literally changes his appearance in every single level. Boy's got more clothes than me. He's got clothes for every occasion up in that ship, and if you don't mind me saying, he's pretty... Oh my. I feel like it's almost impossible to talk about this game without really delving into the time it came out. As mentioned earlier, it's clear it was influenced by games that coming out in that era, you know, your God of Wars, Ghost Rider, Warhog levels in Sonic Unleashed, you name it, this genre was everywhere. And considering this game came out in 2008, Force Unleashed looks fantastic considering how old it is. But another sign of the times, I think, that it makes this game harder to go through is just the sheer amount of QuickTime events. At one point, it felt like every single game had to have QuickTime events, like Resident Evil 4, you know, again, God of War. For some reason, these games love QuickTime events. Batman Arkham Asylum, there's QuickTime events for opening an event. Why? I've never been a fan of them, and it almost felt like the Force Unleashed developers had been holding off QuickTime events in all of their games up until this point. So it was like, we gotta put them all into this game! Because I've played the game before, and I was gaming around this time anyway when it came out, I'm used to it. But if you're younger and kind of, you've missed the whole QuickTime event craze, then it might be a little weird to go back. If you do fall into that category, word of advice: never put your controller down. Cutscenes are not safe. Nothing is safe. Always be alert and on guard for anything. Story in this game was honestly pretty good. Full of twists and turns. You know, 1 minute Vader's your buddy and then he isn't, and then he is, and then he isn't. I really enjoyed it, and Starkiller as a character was pretty likable and complex, and compared to other games I've played in the Star Wars franchise, he stacks pretty high. You do end up feeling bad for the guy because you really get the feeling that he's just completely lost and confused. I dug it. And I thought Vader was great too, because at first, it shows his dedication, kind of, to the Emperor, but not really. However, there was one part in this game that drove me to insanity, as every game seems to do at one point or another. Mostly because I feel like it was such a missed opportunity. The Star Destroyer scene. The idea of using the Force to pull this Imperial Star Destroyer from the sky is incredible, and it looks great. Aside from when you are constantly interrupted by TIE fighters. I cannot stress how much this annoyed me, because you only get a set amount of time to get the Star Destroyer into position before you can start pulling it down to whatever planet you're on, and more often than not, by the time it's in position and you can start pulling, you've now got about 6 TIE fighters ready to kill you and blasting you, which means then you've got to move, destroy the TIE fighters, and then go back to the Star Destroyer, who's rotated back into the initial position, which means you have to then move it back into line before you be able to pull it down again. And it's just you're in the circle of death and depression, and it drove me mad. And this isn't like a one-time thing. No, not 2, 3, 4. No, it's constant. It's an endless supply that they can and they destroy you really quickly if you're not careful, and then you're back to the start. I am good at the game. My overall thoughts on The Force Unleashed: it was good. I think I had a better time with this game than I did on Jedi Academy. A lot of people might think Jedi Academy is a much better game. If I'm completely honest, I can kind of see that in specific areas. There's a certain feel to Jedi Academy that it just feels like an old Star Wars game, like a Knights of the Old Republic era, and I do like that era of Star Wars games. So I will give people the benefit of the doubt if they say that Jedi Academy is better than Force Unleashed. But as a game, standalone game, if you're just playing them side by side, which is what I did, and then looking at them both, I think The Force Unleashed is a better game. And obviously you've got the benefit of time added to that. It's a newer game, even though it was out in 2008, it's still newer. So it has all the recent sort of technology and stuff, recent for the time, technology behind it in the gameplay. I thought the lightsaber combat was a lot better. I thought the gameplay itself was a lot better. I guess the only thing Jedi Academy does have over Force Unleashed would be the guns. And that first-person mode, I did like that. I thought that was kind of cool. Other than that, Force Unleashed, it's a great game. It's good. It's fine. It's okay. If you are looking for Star Wars games to play, get into, you can't go wrong with Force Unleashed. Maybe skip the second one, but it doesn't matter right now. Just play the first. None of it's canon now, which kind of sucks. And, you know, that trailer for Jedi Fallen Order 2, or Jedi Survivor, I think it's called. A lot of people are speculating that the guy in the back of the tank is Starkiller, which would be really cool. I don't think it is, personally, but I wouldn't object to it being Starkiller, because I think he's a really good character, and I'd love to see him pop up in canon form. Because everything that happens in this game, it isn't real anymore. None of it's real. It's all Star Wars, so who cares? None of it's real. Choose whatever canon you want. But the real question is, will I be playing Star Wars next month? Yeah, probably.